What if time isn't something you measure, but something that measures you? Have you ever had that moment where everything around you keeps moving, but you don't feel present in any of it? What if you're not running out of time, but time is quietly running out of you? There's a sound we rarely notice. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for attention. It whispers, tick, tick, but it's always there, beneath the noise of your morning routine, beneath the chatter of your scrolling, beneath the laughter and the silence. Time doesn't move like a clock, not really. It presses. It waits on your chest at night. It hums behind your eyes when you stare too long into nothing. It lives in the ache of not yet and the terror of too late. Kierkegaard once said, "The most painful state of being is remembering the future. A future you never stepped into. A life you meant to live, but didn't." Because time, real time, doesn't feel like seconds ticking away. It feels like potential disappearing. There is no alarm for the moment you drift away from yourself. No countdown before a dream is abandoned. No siren when the last real conversation you could have had slips into the past. You won't notice the exact second your life becomes a performance, but one day you'll look in the mirror and feel a vague, hollow ache, the haunting sense that something was lost while you were busy being productive. And that ache, that slow-burning dread, is the tick that echoes. Not a clock on the wall, but the soul's quiet scream. Wake up before you run out of yourself. This isn't just about time. It's about you. It's about who you're becoming in the minutes you keep spending on everything but meaning. We tell ourselves we're waiting for the right moment, for the right mood, for some cosmic signal to give us permission to begin. But delay is rarely passive. It's not just sitting still. It's choosing not to move, not out of laziness, but out of fear. Fear that we'll fail, fear that we'll be seen, fear that if we truly begin, we'll have no excuse if we don't become who we were meant to be. Kierkegaard didn't believe in neutrality. He said, "To delay is despair. It is the most silent form of suicide." Because delay doesn't just waste time, it drains meaning. You don't lose your life all at once. You misplace it, hour by hour, task by task, scroll by scroll. You push back the call to create. You postpone the apology. You silence the urge to speak up, to walk away, to say this isn't me. And every time you delay, you become a little more okay with not becoming. You pretend the clock is merciful, that it will wait for you. But time doesn't argue, it doesn't demand, it just moves. And so do you, further from the life that would have set your heart on fire. Not with a scream, but with a shrug. Later. The most dangerous lie we whisper to ourselves. Because later becomes never, and never becomes your story. Kierkegaard wrote of the sickness unto death. Not a death of the body, but of the spirit. The death that comes from living a life you never truly chose. That is the despair of delay. Not that the door is closed, but that you had the key and never used it. So ask yourself, what have you delayed, and what is it costing you? You can't keep pressing snooze on your soul and expect to wake up whole. You don't remember when it started. The twitch of your hand toward the phone, the scroll without purpose, the tabs multiplying like thoughts you don't want to have. It feels innocent, harmless even. Just a quick check, a little hit of dopamine, a way to fill the space between things. But distraction isn't a break from life. It's a break from yourself. We don't run from silence because it's empty. We run from silence because it's full of truths we've buried, of questions we don't want to answer, of feelings we don't want to feel. So we stay busy, because busy means you don't have to face what's underneath. Busy means you're doing something, even if that something is nothing that matters. You say, "I'm just catching up. I just need a breather. This is how I relax." But look closer. You're not resting. You're hiding. You're hiding in the noise, in the pings, the updates, the next video, the next scroll. You're drowning in the shallow end of existence because the deep end feels too dark. But distraction isn't rest. It's exile, a self-imposed banishment from the parts of you that still remember how to feel, how to wonder, how to hurt, how to dream. The soul doesn't scream to be heard. It waits, it whispers, and it knows that most of us are too busy checking, refreshing, avoiding, to ever really listen. You say silence is uncomfortable, but that's only because you've forgotten what lives there. In silence, you meet yourself again. Not the version you curate, not the one that replies on time, shows up on cue, performs on command. The real one, the soft one, the scared one, the alive one. But that's the terrifying part, isn't it? That stillness doesn't just quiet the noise. It raises the questions. What am I doing this for? Who am I becoming? What? We think distraction is escape, but escape implies freedom. And freedom means choice, consciousness, awareness. Distraction is the opposite. It is unconscious. It is reflex. It is the willing surrender of attention to everything except what actually matters. So maybe the real rebellion now isn't to move faster. It's to stop, to sit, to breathe without checking, to walk without earbuds, to let your thoughts catch up with your life. You don't need more stimulation. You need more presence. Because your life isn't in the next notification. It's in the breath you're ignoring, the moment you're missing, the self you're exiling. Every time you choose distraction over depth. And one day, if you're lucky, you'll realize the silence you feared wasn't the enemy. It was you, waiting to be found. You wake up and you're already behind someone's morning run, someone's perfect post, someone's new success, new outfit, new milestone. The world doesn't knock anymore. It barges in, through your screen, through the scroll, through the ever-spinning clock of everyone else's life. And so, without choosing it, you start your day chasing. But chasing what? Approval? Relevance? A feeling that maybe, just maybe, you're not falling behind? Kierkegaard called it the crowd. Not just people, but the idea of people. The invisible audience you perform for. The nameless, faceless them whose opinions you carry like chains. And the crowd always has an opinion. What to wear, what to share, what to believe, who to love, how to live. But here's the truth Kierkegaard saw so clearly. The crowd is untruth, because the crowd never knows you. It only knows the version you present, the one shaped by fear, not freedom, the one edited for applause, not aught. And yet, we obey it. We match its pace. We follow its trends. We let timelines tell us who we're supposed to be by now. Married by 30. 6 figures by 35, settled, stable, smiling for the feed. But real life doesn't run on a schedule. The soul doesn't keep time like the market does. Growth isn't linear. Healing isn't efficient. Meaning isn't made in a hurry. Still, the crowd chants, "Keep up!" The clock ticks. You're late. And you believe them, even as your spirit begs you to slow down. to stop measuring your worth by someone else's stopwatch, to stop editing your essence to match the algorithm, to stop confusing popularity with purpose. Because when you follow the crowd, you forget how to follow yourself. And when the clock becomes your god, you sacrifice your soul on the altar of urgency. But what if you could rebel? What if you could reclaim time, not as something to race against, but something to rest within? What if your pace didn't match the crowd, but your own heartbeat? What if you could live like you weren't performing? Kierkegaard believed the individual must stand alone, not isolated, but honest, not disconnected, but undistracted. To look at the world and then look inward and choose, consciously, courageously, what matters to you. Because in a world obsessed with fast and loud, the bravest thing you can do is slow down and live true. Not for the crowd, not by the clock, but from the quiet compass of your own becoming. You feel it, don't you? That quiet pull, that tension in your chest, the sense that you're standing at the edge of something and pretending the edge isn't there. You distract yourself, delay the decision, tell yourself you're thinking it through. But you're not thinking, you're stalling, because deep down, you know what's being asked of you. Not a small step, but a leap. Not a leap into clarity or comfort, but into something far scarier. Responsibility. Not the kind that fills calendars and inboxes, but the kind that fills your soul with fire. The kind that says, no one else is coming to do this for you. That's the leap you keep avoiding. Kierkegaard called it the leap of faith, but not into religion or certainty. A leap into becoming, into choosing who you are without a guarantee, without a map, without applause. And that's the terrifying part, isn't it? That no one can take this leap for you. That no amount of advice, data, or delay will give you the safety you're waiting for. Because there is no safety here. Only honesty, only courage, only the terrifying beauty of owning your own life. You say you're not ready, but no one ever is. The leap doesn't come after you feel brave. It's what creates the courage. It's what burns away the lie that you need permission to live truthfully. You can stay where you are, numb, safe, stuck, or you can jump into uncertainty, into responsibility, into meaning, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. And maybe, just maybe, the moment you leap, you'll finally feel your feet land on something real. You don't want to think about it. Not now, not today, not while there's so much to do, so much to chase, so many reasons to stay distracted. But death doesn't wait for convenience. It doesn't knock politely. It doesn't send calendar invites. It just is. And Kierkegaard knew, death isn't the enemy. It's the mirror. The one thing honest enough to strip your life of pretense, to ask the only question that ever really mattered. Have you lived? Not existed, not achieved, not impressed the crowd, but lived. Have you laughed from your belly? Have you cried for what you love? Have you said the thing you were too scared to say? Have you stopped long enough to feel something real? We treat death like a distant horizon, something far off, something for later, but it's always near, not to haunt you, but to wake you, to remind you that the clock isn't counting tasks, it's counting moments, and most of them pass unnoticed because we assume but we don't know that. That's the burden, that's the gift, because when you remember you're going to die, you remember to live. You stop waiting, you stop performing, you stop saving your soul for some future version of you that may never arrive. And you begin. You choose, you act, not later, but now. memento mori, not to depress you, but to clarify you, to burn away the noise until all that's left is what truly matters. Death makes it urgent, not because time is short, but because life is sacred, and you don't want to leave with your song still stuck in your throat. You check the time, again and again, chasing hours, counting days, measuring life in deadlines and digits. But here's what no clock will tell you. Not all time is equal. There's chronological time, the ticking, linear, logical kind. The time of calendars, schedules, and countdowns. And then there's authentic time, the kind that bends, the kind that breathes, the kind that holds you like a moment that never wants to end. You felt it in a single second of connection that felt more alive than an entire year of routine. In a quiet sunrise, in a child's laughter, in the stillness that made your soul exhale. Kierkegaard understood this, that life isn't made of time past, but of time lived. You can spend a decade asleep, walking through life like a ghost in your own story. Or you can wake up for a single minute and feel more real than you ever have. Because minutes aren't measured by clocks. They're measured by meaning. So why does it feel like whole years vanish in a blur, but some moments tattoo themselves onto your soul? Because those moments were yours. Unfiltered, unforced, undivided. Authentic time asks something deeper than presence. It asks for awareness, for attention, for your whole self to show up. It doesn't care what time it is, only how true you are in it. Because when you're living chronologically, you're surviving. But when you're living authentically, you're becoming. And that's the invitation. To stop counting time and start inhabiting it. To let go of the race and let yourself arrive. Right here, right now, in the only time that ever truly exists, this one. There's a question life keeps asking you. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it waits, quietly, just beneath the noise. Will you become who you truly are? Not who they expect, not who they follow, not who keeps things tidy and easy and small, but you, the real you, the one you've glimpsed in dreams, in moments of stillness, in the ache of knowing there's more. Kierkegaard called it the self, not the image, not the mask, but the deep soul underneath it all. The one that knows what matters, the one that remembers. But comfort has a voice too. It says, stay where it's safe. Don't risk the unknown. Better to be liked than to be true. And so years pass, slowly, then all at once, filled with choices made for convenience, not for meaning. You play the part, you do what works, but inside something withers, because the soul doesn't want comfort, it wants truth. And truth doesn't come easy. It asks for sacrifice. It demands courage. It calls for a quiet rebellion against everything that numbs you into forgetting who you are. And here's what Kierkegaard knew. The greatest despair isn't failure. It's never becoming yourself. It's dying having lived someone else's dream. It's reaching the end and realizing the real you never made it out. But it's not too late. You can choose again. Not tomorrow, now. To stop hiding, to stop postponing your becoming. To stop mistaking survival for life. Because the soul is patient, but not passive. It will whisper until you listen. It will ache until you move. It will stir beneath every quiet regret and ask, are you ready yet? to become what only you can be. Most people fear the end. We act like time is the enemy, a thief in the dark, coming to take what we love, stealing years we wish we could keep. But Kierkegaard saw it differently. He believed that the very fact that time ends is what gives it meaning. Imagine living forever. No urgency, no risk, no real need to choose anything now, because you could always do it later. But later never shapes a soul. Only now does. The awareness that your time is finite, that every moment is non-refundable. This isn't a curse, it's your greatest freedom, because it forces you to ask, what matters? Not what impresses, not what distracts, but what matters. Kierkegaard wrote of the knight of faith, someone who walks through life not with certainty, but with commitment. Not with guarantees, but with courage. You don't need more time. You need more presence, more honesty, more willingness to risk becoming yourself. The clock isn't counting down to scare you. It's reminding you that you're alive, that you are not stuck in fate, that you still have the power to choose, to leap, to love, to begin, because only in the face of the end can we truly begin. This is not a deadline, it's a doorway. There's a silence that follows every ticking sound. It doesn't ask how much time you have left. It asks something harder. What did you do with the time you were given? Not in terms of goals, not achievements, but in the quiet moments between them, when no one was watching, when it was just you and the echo of your own existence. Kierkegaard warned us of despair that wears a smile, the despair of living a life that isn't yours, of becoming a nameplate, a profile, a performance, of forgetting you were once a soul with fire behind the eyes. You won't remember most of what you scroll past. You won't carry the applause or the likes, but you will carry the weight of unlived days, of truths left unspoken, of paths never walked because you waited for certainty. But life doesn't hand out certainty. It gives you time and then asks, will you spend it or waste it? The clock doesn't threaten you. It invites you to decide, to show up, to become. And when you feel the fear again, because you will, remember this. The clock was never counting down your death. It was counting up your life. So before this one ticks to silence, what will you do with the time that remains?